Good day, everyone. Such a pleasure to be coming to you this weekend as we draw to the end of the Advent season and begin the season of Christmas. So I'm giving you a double message, my fourth Sunday of Advent and my Christmas message in one. Both lead into each other. The whole focus of the Advent season leading up to Christmas is, of course, on the person of Jesus. And I was telling you last week that it's not about Frosty the Snowman, it's not about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and it's not about Santa Claus, though the Christmas decorations would have us believe otherwise. Santa gives Jesus a good run for his money, and a lot of churches have put a sign out front of their church on the lawn: Jesus is the reason for the season. I was trying to explain this to a Spanish-speaking friend of mine from Ecuador, and she just didn't get it. In Spanish, it goes like this: Jesús es la razón de la temporada. It doesn't quite have the same ring. Jesus is the reason for the season. But in Latin culture, there is no such issue. There is no such problem. They know the reason for the season. Latin culture, coming up to Christmas, there are so many displays of creches in various places. I remember even seeing a creche in a bar once when I was visiting Venezuela just before Christmas. Santa doesn't even run a close second. Manger scenes are just about in every place, as I said. So the focus is really on Jesus. Even the characters in the Bible story do not compete with Jesus. It's not about John. After this week, John the Baptist disappears completely. And when he reappears, I don't mean to be facetious, when he reappears, he loses his head. Joseph, we don't hear about him again after the Christmas story. He's nowhere to be found in the Bible. The thinking is that he was an old man already and that he died soon afterwards. The Virgin Mary, on the other hand, pops in and out, making what you might call guest appearances. It's like these late night shows that we have on television. People get to make guest appearances. Some people come on once and you never see them again, and some people more frequently. So Jesus is the one who is always on. He is the Jay Leno. He is the Johnny Carson. He is the Jimmy Fallon. He's Conan O'Brien. He's the David Letterman. Except in the case of these guys, their shows would eventually get cancelled. Once you start losing your popularity on television, you're gone. Your ratings were too poor. Well, someone forgot to cancel Jesus. His show is still running. And the question people sometimes ask is, who is this Jesus? And what is the reason for his popularity? Is it all a myth? Is he for real? And that is the question that everyone in each generation has to answer. You kind of have to wrap your head around Jesus. Who is he? Is the story of Jesus a myth or just a legend? And this is precisely the theme of our reading this weekend, the identity of this man Jesus. And our search, any authentic search, begins, of course, with the gospel narrative, Matthew 1 and Luke 3, because they were searching as well. They were trying to figure him out, to make connections between the past and the present. And our reading today gives us the results of that search. Micah, in the first reading, chapter 5, verse 1, calls Jesus the ruler from ancient times. So Micah finds Jesus in history. The second reading, taken from Hebrews chapter 5, says that he will come in the flesh, the only begotten Son of God. So Hebrews, the writer of Hebrews, finds Jesus in philosophy. But when you get to the gospel reading, it's a little bit different. It's not about history and philosophy. It's about a direct encounter. It's about a personal relationship with the Lord. The gospel reading focuses on an actual meeting with Jesus. In the reading this weekend, we are told that a very pregnant Elizabeth met a pregnant Mary, the child in her womb, and when this occurred, John, leapt for joy. So even in the womb, John recognized Jesus. In other words, he had a Jesus moment. And I will tell you this, in the final analysis, who Jesus is depends a lot on our Jesus moment. That moment in our lives when God breaks through for us in our pain, in our anguish, in our fear. Against all the odds, he finds us. And notice where John has his Jesus moment. In the womb of an elderly woman who was considered infertile. In a place that had been declared barren. And we know what barren means. Barren means nothing is happening and nothing is expected to happen. My question to us today is that your life, nothing happening, nothing expected to happen. Have you reached a dead end in your life? And speaking of dead ends, I remember some years ago when some friends and I rented a car in a Caribbean country called Barbados. And we got lost looking in a seedy looking neighborhood. I was the driver, and I think I did a pretty good impression of pretending to know where I was going. But after we had passed the same bar 3 times, we all realized that we were hopelessly lost. We had waved to the patrons outside the bar every time we went by, and they were looking more and more astonished. There go those crazy tourists again. But how long can you pretend? Our Jesus moment came in the form of an elderly man who showed us exactly how to get out of the neighborhood and to get to where we are going. And we all need that Jesus moment, that time where God enters our lives completely unannounced and sets us free. Someone said that the real message of Christmas is a message of kindness. The real message of Christmas is a message of kindness. The innkeeper who accommodated Joseph, Mary, and Jesus in the manger. The shepherds who came to adore and keep them company. The visit of the wise men who brought gifts. They all speak of the kindness of our God. And that finally, my dear friends, is the message of Advent leading into Christmas. In the midst of our pain, he comes to us as the babe born in Bethlehem. I ask us, as Christmas is upon us, to open our hearts to welcome and accommodate him with kindness in our hearts and extend that kindness to others as well. Do good for somebody in this Christmas season and beyond. And I will tell you this, more than anything else, this is precisely what our world needs today. The kindness of our God expressed in our hearts. God bless you and have a Merry Christmas.